There's a moment right before a car crash, they say, where time slows down. You see it coming. You know the impact is inevitable. Your life is about to change forever, and there is absolutely nothing you can do to stop it. This was our car crash, and my father was finally behind the wheel, and he was driving us straight into the truth. The air in the house had been toxic for weeks. After I tried to break things off, Chloe and Haley's revenge was subtle, cruel, and brilliant. They didn't scream. They planted seeds. I'd walk into a room and they'd stop talking. My father would ask a simple question. "Where were you all afternoon, Ethan?" And Chloe would answer for me with a sly, "Oh, I'm sure he was just out with friends." Her tone made the words sound dirty. The final seed was an anonymous note. I never saw it, but my father did. He found it tucked in his briefcase. Later, he told me it simply read, "Ask your son about his late-night lessons with your wife and your daughters." It was cowardly. It was vicious. It was the trigger. He called the family meeting on a Sunday night. The same night we used to watch movies together a lifetime ago. His voice was calm, too calm. We all filed into the living room, the scene of our original sin. Chloe sat primly on the edge of the sofa. Haley looked bored, but I could see her knee bouncing. Sophia was trembling. I stood by the fireplace, my heart hammering against my ribs. He didn't sit. He stood before us, looking at each of us in turn. His face, usually so open and kind, was a mask of profound hurt and controlled fury. "I received a note today," he began, his voice low and steady. A ugly, cowardly note. It suggested something monstrous. He held up a hand before anyone could speak. "I have spent my life building things. A company, a home, a family. I thought I was providing for you. But I have been a fool. I have been blind. The one thing I apparently built was a beautiful cage for a group of strangers." He looked straight at me. "Ethan, look at me and tell me, as my son, that there is nothing going on in this house that would betray everything we are supposed to be." My mouth was desert dry. I opened it, but the lie wouldn't come. The weight of the secret, the shame, it choked me. I just stood there, silent, my eyes pleading with him to stop. That's when Chloe broke. "Robert, for God's sake, it was a malicious note. Some jealous person, stop." The word exploded from him, a roar of pain that shook the room. The mask was off. Tears were in his eyes. I am done with the lies. The truth. Now. All of it. The dam broke. It wasn't a single confession. It was an avalanche. Haley, in a fit of defiant rage, screamed, "You want the truth? You were never here. Ethan was. He actually saw us. He made us feel something." Sophia burst into sobs, collapsing into herself. "I'm sorry, Daddy. I'm so sorry. We just wanted you to notice." Chloe turned on them, her own facade shattering. "You stupid girls. You couldn't keep your mouths shut. This is your fault." "And what is your part in this, Chloe?" my father asked, his voice now terrifyingly quiet. "What did you do?" The room fell silent. All eyes turned to her. Her face crumpled. She looked from my father to me, her eyes filled with a mixture of terror and a strange, sick relief. You want to know what I did, Robert?" she whispered. "I let your son make me feel beautiful. Something you haven't done in years." The silence that followed was heavier than any sound. The full, horrifying picture was assembling itself in my father's mind. The affair with Chloe, the involvement of the girls, the grotesque, shared secret. I watched the understanding dawn on his face, and I saw his soul break in real time. He didn't scream. He didn't cry. He took a slow, deep breath and looked at us, his wife, his son, his daughters, as if we were monsters he'd found under his bed. "Get out," he said, his voice a hollow whisper. "Robert, please," Chloe begged. "Get out," he roared, picking up a crystal glass from the table and hurling it into the fireplace. It exploded like the end of our world. "All of you, get out of my house. You are not my family. You are nothing to me. We were exiles." In that moment, we lost everything. Our home, our provider, our father, the man we had all, in our own twisted ways, betrayed. I packed a bag in a daze. I heard Chloe sobbing in another room. I saw Haley trying to look defiant as she shoved clothes into a suitcase, her hands shaking. Sophia was just sitting on her bed, catatonic. I walked out the front door into the cool California night. I didn't look back. The foundation of lies had finally crumbled, and we were buried in the rubble. There are moments in life that divide everything into a before and an after. This was that line for me. The raw, unfiltered pain of truth. Have you ever had to face a truth so painful it changed you forever? What do you think happens to each of us after we walked out that door? Can you ever come back from being called nothing by someone you love? Your insights from the comments on the last video were incredibly powerful. Thank you. Please share your thoughts on this video below. If this story is impacting you, let me know with a like, subscribe to follow on WhatsApp happen next of this journey, and share it. Rock bottom isn't a place you visit, that it's a place you build. You lay the foundation with your bad choices, you wall yourself in with your secrets, and you finally lock the door from the inside with your shame. The night my father threw us out, I thought I had reached it. But I was wrong. Rock bottom was what came next. And the only way out was to start dismantling that place, brick by painful brick. The months after the confession were a blur of gray. I moved to a different state, Colorado. I got a job waiting tables. I rented a studio apartment with a view of a brick wall. The silence there was different from the silence in my father's house. This silence was mine, and it was deafening. I was alone with my guilt, my shame, and the ghost of my father's voice. You are nothing to me. I believed him. I wore that nothing like a lead coat. I'd have nightmares of that night in the living room, waking up in a cold sweat, the sound of shattering glass echoing in my ears. I was drowning, and I knew, with a terrifying clarity, that if I didn't do something, I would never resurface. The first step was the hardest. I found a therapist number online. I stared at it for a week. Making that call felt like admitting I was broken beyond repair. But finally, I did it. Dr. Evans's office was quiet, safe. And for the first time, I told the whole, ugly, unvarnished truth to someone who wasn't paid to love me or judge me, but to simply listen. It was excruciating. We peeled back every layer. My father's neglect, my own hunger for validation, the toxic power I felt and wielded, the profound damage I helped cause. Therapy wasn't about making excuses. It was about taking responsibility. And in taking responsibility, I slowly started to reclaim my power. I learned my father had started therapy too. I wasn't surprised. He was a fixer. And this was the one thing he couldn't fix with a business deal. I heard through a distant relative that he was grappling with his own role, his emotional absence, his confusion between providing and parenting. It didn't absolve me of what I did. Nothing ever could. But it helped me see him as a man, flawed and hurting, not just as my father. I heard snippets about the others. Chloe moved back to her hometown, reportedly struggling deeply. Haley bounced from friend's couch to friend's couch, still running from the fallout. And Sophia checked into a residential treatment program. My heart ached for her the most. The sensitive one, who had just wanted to be loved, was the one who internalized the shame the deepest. Healing wasn't linear. Some days I'd take 2 steps forward. Other days, I'd wake up back in that living room, consumed by regret. But I kept going. I started writing in a journal. I went for long hikes in the mountains. The scale of the mountains made my problems feel both small and significant, a part of a larger, more complex world. Years passed. The anger and the raw pain slowly turned into a dull ache, and then into a scar. A reminder of a wound that would always be there, but one that had healed. The story doesn't end with a happy family reunion. There was no magical forgiveness. My father and I have exchanged a few careful, civil emails. They are about surface things, a book he read, the Colorado weather. The subtext is always there. I am here. I am working on me. I acknowledge you are working on you. It's not much, but it's everything. I saw Sophia last year. We met at a coffee shop, halfway between our 2 cities. It was awkward at first. Then she smiled, a real, genuine smile I hadn't seen since she was a teenager. We talked for 3 hours. We didn't talk about the past. We talked about her therapy, her new job at a library, my plans to go back to school. We talked about the weather. It was the most normal, beautiful conversation I'd ever had. We are not a family anymore, not in the traditional sense. We are 4 individuals who share a profound trauma and a last name. We are all on our own paths, carrying our own pieces of the wreckage. But we are no longer buried by it. The foundation of lies was destroyed. And from that barren ground, we each had to slowly, painstakingly, build a new foundation for ourselves. One made of honesty, self-awareness, and the quiet, hard-won peace that comes from facing your darkest self and choosing to move forward anyway. This is where my story ends, for now. Healing is a lifelong journey. I've shared this because I believe we all have our foundations of lies. Maybe not as dramatic as mine, but things we've built our lives on that aren't true or healthy. My question to you is this: what does your healing journey look like? Have you ever had to rebuild your life from the ground up? What was the first step you took? Your comments and shared experiences throughout this series have been a part of my own healing. Thank you for listening. Thank you for not turning away from the hard parts. If this story resonated with you, please share your thoughts in the comments. Let's have a conversation about recovery. Like this video if it moved you, and subscribe if you want to follow more stories about navigating life's complexities. This isn't a story about a happy ending. It's a story about a new beginning. And that beginning starts with a single, brave choice, however small it may seem. Thank you for being a part of mine.